Here are today's numbers in the news.
25%.
That's how much the Ontario government could cut electricity prices this year. This is according to a report in the Toronto Star. The plan is going to be finalized at a cabinet meeting today. Now, that 25% figure includes the 8% reduction that's already happened by eliminating the provincial portion of the HST on hydro bills. That went into effect at the beginning of this year. But the government is apparently going to change the timetable for repaying some of the debt associated with electricity generation, including the controversial Green Energy Act. By changing the amortization period, they can cut the global adjustment portion of our electricity bills. If you're one of the people who actually looks at the itemized bill item by item, I try not to, just because it gets so discouraging. The Star compares it to refinancing your mortgage. You'll still owe the same amount of money, but if you pay it over a longer period of time, your monthly costs go down. This Liberal plan comes days after NDP leader Andrea Horwath announced that she, if elected, would reduce hydro rates somewhere between 17 and 30% through a number of different measures. And, of course, it comes just really 15 months before the next provincial election.
$13,900.
That's how much an online campaign has raised to help the family of Cody McNeil. The 19-month-old boy spent more than 2 weeks at CHEO after suffering severe burns in a fire that started in his bedroom last month. He is now back with his family. And according to a post on Facebook, his father says Cody is back to his regular, lovable self. The boy's father also posted his thanks for all of the donations of clothing and toys that have been passed on to the family. Officials are still investigating the cause of the fire. The goal of the fundraising campaign had been $5,000. They have raised almost triple that amount.
11.
That's how many times Donald Trump used the words immigration or immigrant in his speech to Congress last night. Apart from America, American, or Americans, which he said a total of 74 times, it was one of the most common terms in the speech. Trump cited Canada and Australia when he talked about having a point system for new people coming to the United States. He also mentioned Justin Trudeau when he talked about the initiative the two leaders created to promote women in business. That was the only world leader that he mentioned in his speech. Overall, the tone was one of unity and cooperation, and Trump won praise for his tribute to Ryan Owens, the Navy SEAL who was killed during a raid in Yemen. Some people called that a turning point in his presidency. But he did also talk about having an office created called VOICE, which would stand for Victims of Immigration Crime Engagement. He said the office will provide a voice to those who have been ignored by the media and silenced by special interests.
40.
That's how many extra seconds the average candidate got to speak at last night's Conservative leadership debate because Kevin O'Leary wasn't there. So instead of 14 candidates sharing the available time, there were only 13 in attendance. So instead of each of them getting on average something like 8.5 minutes, they each got a little over 9 minutes to talk. O'Leary held a separate event, which was attended by about 160 people. There was something like 500 people at the debate. There was also somebody dressed as a chicken holding a picture of O'Leary outside the debate. Kelly Leach used the opportunity to promote her video about screening immigrants, that video that has been mocked widely on social media. Michael Chong defended his position on a carbon tax against attacks from most of the other candidates. Chong said the Conservatives used to be opposed to free trade, but they reversed their stand 30 years ago because it was the right thing to do, and they should do the same on carbon pricing. Vancouver businessman Rick Peterson was wearing an Edmonton Oilers jersey at the debate. It was in Edmonton. He said he would run for a spot in the Montreal area by-election to replace Stéphane Dion, and he accused Kelly Leach's campaign of being a train wreck.
$186 billion.
That's how much the federal government is promising to spend on infrastructure projects over the next decade, but a Senate committee is warning that a lot of that money could end up wasted because the government doesn't have a strategic plan. The National Finance Committee said in some cases, the only metrics that Infrastructure Canada uses to measure success are the number of projects and the value attached to each of them. In other words, how much money goes out the door rather than the value we are getting for that money, what it's actually buying. The committee says without a strategic plan, the government can't develop meaningful objectives or any performance measures, and that means Canadians will be in the dark about whether the infrastructure program will actually meet the Liberals' goal of growing the economy or really generate any value for Canadians. Will it be worth the $186 billion that's being invested? We're going to talk to Senator Larry Smith about this coming up on Ottawa Today.
2.
That's how many women were charged with murder today in the death of Kim Jongnam, the brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The woman appeared in court today in Malaysia. They arrived under the protection of masked special forces carrying machine guns. The two women say they are not guilty. There are reports they are claiming they were paid to carry out what they thought was a prank for a television show. They had no idea they were using a lethal substance. But if convicted, the two women face a mandatory death sentence.
$60 million.
That's how much the bidding reached for the rights to books by Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, according to a report in the Financial Times. Penguin Random House has announced it will publish 2 books, one by the former U.S. president, one by the former First Lady. The terms weren't disclosed, but there had already been reports about a fierce bidding war between publishers. The Obamas have said they will donate a significant portion of the author's proceeds to charity.
1,500.
That's at least how many American theaters will carry Moonlight this weekend after its Oscar win for Best Picture on Sunday. The film has been in theaters already for about 20 weeks, but the biggest number of screenings it's had is just over 1,100. La La Land, by comparison, has played to more than 3,300 theaters at a time. Now the producers of Moonlight are banking on a renewed interest in the film after the Oscars, and not just because of the intrigue over how the Best Picture award was handed out. Moonlight has earned only $22 million at the box office so far, making it the second lowest performing Best Picture winner in history.
3.
That's how many new faces the Senators could have in the lineup for tomorrow night's game against Colorado. The Senators acquired forward Victor Stahlberg from Carolina yesterday. They also signed a free agent from Europe, Chris DiDomenico, and that's in addition to Alex Burrows, who was acquired from Vancouver earlier. There could be more moves before the trade deadline at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and we will have more coverage coming up on 1310 News. Just ahead, more on Donald Trump's speech with Alan Abel, who covered it for Maclean's.
Ottawa Today with Mark Sutcliffe returns on 1310 News and Rogers TV right after this.